Good evening and welcome to our July 19th, 2016 Board of Selectmen meeting. I'll ask we begin with a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll start with the reading of the agenda for tonight. We will go over meeting minutes for June 21st, 28th, and July 12th. Then we'll go to community relations, announcements, and open forum. We will go to appointments and resignations, which we have one reappointment for terms expiring June 30th, 2016. We have no items under scheduled appointments. We have two items under new business, a site plan application for Sun Connect, and a business with the police chief about a grant. Under old business, we have reverse 911 recommendations. Then we'll move to committee reports, the Board of Selectmen policy reviews, the town administrator's report, and any other business unknown at the time of posting. And our next regular meeting will be August 2nd.
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath.
I make a motion that we accept June 21st meeting minutes.
Second.
Thank you. A motion is second to accept our June 21st meeting minutes. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
All right, chair votes aye. Motion passes with 2 ayes and 1 abstention. We'll move on to our special selectmen's meeting minutes for July 28th. What are the wishes of the board?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath.
I make a motion that we accept the June 28th meeting minutes.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. And our July 12th special selectmen's meeting minutes.
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath.
I make a motion that we accept the July 12th meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. And with that, I'll read the announcements. Real estate and personal property taxes are due by August 1st, 2016, so that's coming up. The Charlton Fire Department would like all families that are going on vacation this summer to have a meeting place at the hotel or summer cottage you may be sleeping at. This will ensure accountability for your family members if an event occurs. From the Charlton's Arts and Activities Council, they present the Blueberry Festival on July 23rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Fresh blueberries, blueberry shortcake with whipped cream topping, bake sale table, raffles, amateur cooks, blueberry bake-off and auction, variety of live musics, a bounce house, pony rides, Irish step dance performances, puppet shows, alpacas, a pie eating contest, sand art, lawn games, vendor booths, art demonstrations, cake decorating demos, and more being added daily. So it'll pay to be there. Once again, July 23rd at the Charlton Arts and Activity Council at 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. The Charlton Heritage Preservation Trust will have a community yard sale on Saturday, August 6th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. The deadline to register to get on the map is Wednesday, July 20th. For more information, contact Ellen at 508-248-9065. Once again, that's contacting Ellen at 508-248-9065. The Recycling Committee still has some kitchen composting bins available. Contact the Recycling Committee by emailing recycling@townofcharlton.net or call Roland Jackson at 508-248-2095 or stop by a Town Hall Selectman's office. Are there any announcements on the board? Is anyone here for open forum?
Mr. Sayer's on vacation.
Okay, thank you. Chief?
I was requested to talk briefly about what's going on currently about Pokemon Go, the new virtual reality game that people are playing. So I've done some research on it. We really haven't had problems per se. Some people have at first, people congregating in different areas, chasing down the Pokemons and understanding the game. The things that law enforcement has seen where if people are driving and using their cell phones to chase down the virtual character, and trying to capture it. Going into, say, a cemetery when there's somebody there is being laid to rest, or there's a ceremony, a sacred ceremony, say, you know, like on Memorial Day or whatever. So going into places that are currently public but are not public, like after dark. Going into places where businesses or industrial zones, and that trespass, you know, putting people in harm's way. People walking aimlessly across streets, you know, because they're so intent on what is going on their phone at the time. So those are some of the things that concern law enforcement. Not this is the United States of America. You have the right to walk down public streets, public sidewalks, you know, but there's a certain decorum in different buildings, okay, that should go on, you know. Obviously, you shouldn't walk into a church during the middle of a service and chase a Pokemon. I haven't seen that, but I'm just saying as an example. One thing that I didn't understand about the software, in doing some research today, they talk about this feature, it's called Allure, and some people who want to rob or a pedophile, you know, trying to attract a person, the lure, according to what I read, lasts about 30 minutes or what have you. Anyways, if somebody goes to an area and then they're abducted or robbed or accosted, whatever. So people going out solo, you know, young people without being accompanied by a group to, you know, to share the activity and something to befall them. Obviously, if going out after hours and if there's areas that are being worked on or whatever, you know, falling, getting hurt. So, you know, just some of the other common things that we should just think about. So the game doesn't allow you to violate the law. You know, like I said, trespassing in areas that say, you know, no entrance, or some businesses welcome the players because the type of business they are. Others don't. So I recommend if there was a problem with a business that they post, you know, as far as no loitering or some other restrictions. So that way if an officer goes there, they can point to why they shouldn't be present. This isn't trying to regulate people or being overly, you know, overly regulate, you know, people's freedoms. This is just common sense. I used the analogy the other day, it's, you know, if I want to go play baseball, can I walk in the library and have a baseball game, you know, right there near the circulation desk, and, you know, what's first base, what's home plate, you know, I mean, that would not be acceptable. So, but I was, you know, just every community is different, you know, and I don't know the level that we'll experience. The first few days that I saw groups of people, people were calling and asking, well, why is there's a group of kids here, or where I've seen less of that, you know, in the last couple days, but I don't know if there'll be a resurgence when school comes back in. Will there be more? Will the game advance itself and now go to another level? I don't know. But we just want everybody that's playing the games to comply with the law. And, you know, if there's any businesses that are having an issue, we can go have a discussion with the young people, I shouldn't say young people, the people that are playing the game, and see what we can work out. Because there's so many different facets of the game, you know, the gym, the poke stops, and all these other things, and it just, you know, the more I read about it, you know, and there's different levels and what have you. So my main concern is, you know, that everybody's safe. You don't have the right to go on somebody's back porch or yard or whatever, on private property, fields or what have you. I mean, if you're going to access somebody's private property, you need permission to be there. So that way we don't get a call. And you're there really not to hurt anything, but the people are very suspect why you're there, you know, are you there to break in their house or do some other type of crime or what have you. So as people are meandering around, sometimes you get those calls. But the things that are clear, you know, like I said, it's just like texting and driving. You can't be playing the game while you're driving. Some people, I was in Oxford today, and there were two young men, young boys, whatever, probably 13 or 14, and they were riding bikes, and they were chasing Pokemon behind the town hall over in Oxford. And they were headed out towards the street, and I told them, hey, be careful, you know, watch out for traffic. And, you know, it just common sense things. But sometimes you just get so engrossed in the game, you forget your surroundings. So I guess another voice from we heard from.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. Denton Hutchins, Recreation Commissioner. My question, is there certain times that we're not allowed to be in, say, the library, front steps, down in front of the town hall? I know Charlton doesn't have an actual curfew. A couple of the chief's officers have asked us 11, 12 at night to politely leave, and so we go home. But we would just like to know if there's like a certain time.
I would default to the chief. Are there any posted times that they can't access the property? I know they can't go in a building, obviously, when it's closed. I know some public parking spaces have nighttime curfews. You can't enter the property during those, you know, during when it's not sunlight out.
Well, it's like anything. It's some areas have been allowed access. I'll give you, say like Bay Path, okay, after dark. Now there have been people that have received permission to go up because they part of a stargazing club. They get permission. They're up there. But if it's after dark and the school's not in session, there's no night school or whatever, really, you know, certain things that, you know, I mean, we have, you know, as far as restricting people, but we've had, you know, where there's been damage or vandalism or what have you to public buildings. So when it's that hour of the night, I mean, I'll defer to the library trustees as far as if you post nobody after closing on the property, you know, or unless there's an activity, those things are regulated. The cemeteries, you know, they are not supposed to be in the cemeteries after dark.
Right,
You know, so.
and it's on my understanding is you don't have to be exactly inside a building to access some of the features of the game. That you can be close, we can be on a sidewalk, not necessarily go up to the steps of the library, but can be walking down, you know, on the side of the road.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you know, this is America. I mean, people do have the right to venture out, and you know, and I don't want us to be overzealous either.
So it just seems like it just takes common sense to
Common
realize,
sense.
hey, don't be hanging
Right.
around some of the on the windows of a building. You know, do your duty at the different places and then carry on and don't,
Right.
you know.
No,
don't be-
but I mean, if
don't be suspicious.
no, but I mean, if I would just say to you, it does when you're out on patrol, finding people in places that you normally don't expect to be, you know, questioned anyways.
Right.
You know, but if it's posted and you're in an area that's, you know, then you're subject to, you know, whatever happens as far as trespassing, you know, violating, and especially on private property. Private property, you have no excuse.
Right, and it from what I've seen so far is that, you know, it's good practice to, you know, make sure you ask what's going on, but there hasn't been any issues.
No.
And there hasn't been any, but either way, you know, people who are refusing to leave or officers who are overstepping the bounds
No.
on their end. So it
No.
seems like everyone's pretty harmonious right now.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's a new fad, you know, or whatever. I mean, and obviously, you know, we adapt and change with the times. And if people are out doing the right thing, then I mean, you know, we just, you know, we're not a inner city where there's gangs of people floating around or what have you. And if, you know, we just need to adapt. You know, so hopefully, if there's one particular area, we can have a conversation with the proprietors of a public building, you know, a private area or whatever, and come to it's beneficial. People are out walking and they're not sedentary, you know, sitting and just, a lot of gamers are sedentary. They sit behind, you know, they're at home, you know,
Right.
so if they're out chasing a Pokemon, they're getting some exercise, you know,
So I appreciate you coming forward and, you know, talking about this.
yeah, I just
Um,
think, you know, I think we're all on the same page. We don't want to be overly, like I said, overly zealous as far as prohibition of people's free exercise to be around. We just obviously don't go to places or disrupt the normal course of business or what have you, and be polite, you know, both sides, the police and the public, you know.
Absolutely. And I just want to echo your words of, you know, use common sense and respect for wherever
Right.
you are.
I would just say to you, parents, you know, again, learn more about this game, because there have been, and as perpetrators of crime find out more about the game, there's a feature that I don't understand per se that I started reading about in Google, that's as far as like people being able to track where people go. There's like a back door that they can get into, and they're trying to eliminate that, so to know where people are moving about, which is not a good thing, because you know, if somebody's trying to follow you for the wrong reasons, so as the game develops over the time, hopefully you know, they make it safer, but there are also the negative sides that not so much that we've experienced, but other parts of the country. So,
Mr. McGrath, did you have something?
Yeah, and Chief, just to segue into something else here, we have a lot of construction on, myself have been out on Route 20 a couple of nights already, removing the raised pavement markers.
yep.
Distracted driving, impaired driving, please. You know, we've had, even out there, the couple of nights that I were, we've had people actually get into the setup with all the cones and everything out there. You know, and that's with 2 police cruisers, a crash attenuator. Not only that, we have the tree crews working where they go down to 1 lane, you know, 1 or 2 police officers there. You know, if you could just explain to the public what they, you know.
Well, Charlton, obviously, with Trooper Claddy, I mean, you know, we suffered on the Pike, his death, you know, and he was just working in overtime. But there's been numerous officers and troopers where people are distracted, you know, not only, I mean, this is just one more distraction, you know, as far as a game or texting. And I know the legislature's looking at, you know, trying to just go to hands-free as far as that, but it's, the use of cell phones is probably even worse, you know, because of how many people are doing that per day, and accidents occurring. So it's illegal. If you get caught, you know, you can get fined. And obviously, if you hit another vehicle, it can cause wrongful death. You know, obviously, this Trooper Cloudy's death was not related to texting, but it was related to other issues going on. But there are many people who are been injured or killed because of distracted driving and impaired driving. Next month, I'll announce it later, but next month we are teaming up with the state police one particular evening. We're going to be doing a sobriety checkpoint here in town. So I'm already making arrangements for that, so to take some steps. And there'll be state police and Charlton police. That'll be coming up next month. So I do, if I just take a second, want to thank a lot of the public that has reached out to the department over the last few weeks since the deaths that occurred in Texas and in Louisiana. People have called us, stopped by. People have brought pizza. People have brought cookies. I had one young person come in, you know, with a poster and, you know, thanking us for our service. The United Methodist Church had a tribute to first responders this past Saturday, and issued out plaques to the first responders from the 3 communities. Myself and some of my officers and a couple of the firefighters from Charlton were there, and we were recognized. But for what's going on and being targeted in other parts of the country, it's been, our experience here has been good, but obviously just what happened over in Auburn not that long ago to Officer Tarantino, and just rings clear that more and more violence towards first responders is occurring, and we need to have a national conversation, with both sides, to stop the madness, stop the killing, stop the violence. We're all here. We should all be treating each other with respect. We have a job to do when somebody breaks the law, but we shouldn't have to pay the ultimate price. Nor should the public either. On the other side, we shouldn't be overzealous. But it's if we, in the course of our duties, do something wrong, we should be, should face the judicial system. But we should not be out there rioting and rebelling and assassinating officers. That's not the answer. But we do need to have a national conversation about how we treat each other. I don't care what race, religion, sexual orientation, or what have you. We need to treat each other all with respect. But the president issued out a letter today to the first responders and that across the country, and it was pretty good. And I don't have it here with me, but I'm just hoping that as we move forward, that all of us, where this country is for everybody, all inclusive, without bias, and we need to get back to that.
Thank you, Chief, and I really appreciate the wise words. So, any more discussion on policing, first responders, Pokemon Go?
Go Pokemon.
Go Pokemon. Yes, a world for people who play Pokemon and who do not. So, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else here for open forum? Mr. Sage. Does this involve Pokemon?
It does.
Oh, okay.
Since the library was brought up and the trustees were brought up, we have a very happy feeling about Pokemon because the kids are coming in. We're actually, I shouldn't say luring, but we're enticing them in on really hot days with a free freeze pop. But if some of them come out with a library book or a new library card, we're thrilled. And whether it's kids or grown-ups. There are grown-ups in this community who have never ever stepped foot in our library. And our library is a very exciting, dynamic kind of environment that's very happy to be in there. And I encourage more and more of our residents to utilize the library. Today, I was there and I went out into the young adult area where on my way out, and there were 3 young gentlemen who were at the computers with their phones playing Pokemon, and I pointed out that we have a whole lot of good books all around you. And they responded, well, we have to read one for the high school. And I deferred comment on that. But we're not going to restrict people at the library property. It's there for anybody to use. We do have some restrictions as far as skateboarding on the property, bicycle use. We have bicycle racks for kids coming to the library to put their bicycles and lock them and come on in, but we don't want kids riding their bicycles, popping wheelies, racing over the 5 or 6 steps onto the lower level parking lot for the thrill of it. Although it is probably pretty thrilling. We just don't want that at the library. Having done stupid things in my life with bicycles, I can understand their desire, but not at the library. But we're not going to restrict them on the property at other hours when the library is not open. And we do encourage them to come in and check out the library and check out a book.
Thank you, Mr. Sage. Mr. McGrath, you have a comment?
Just that my grandchildren think the library is an exciting place, Stefan.
Great, I love it.
Right, anyone else here for open forum? Seeing none, we'll move on to appointments and resignations. First and only item under appointments and resignations, the reappointment for terms expiring June 30th. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. The following requests for reappointments for terms that expire June 30th, 2016 are made by the board. I would recommend the board make the following amendment. CMRPC delegate, Rich Care, expiration date, and all of these expiration dates are June 30th, 2017, except for the next one, which is Conservation Commission. Ed Nowak, expiration date 6/30/2019. The rest are 2017. Dam Monitor, South Charlton, Jonathan Brooks. Lakes and Ponds Committee, Stanley Lewandowski, Frank Zappella, Jackie Nowak, Andy Mahone. I would also like to ask the board to reappoint special municipal employees every year with a term expiration date of June 30th, 2017. The appointments for the positions are for the positions, not the person in them, which would be Call Assistant Fire Chief, Board of Assessors, and the Plumbing Inspector. Once these appointments are made, the appointment list will be updated and we will announce the openings left to fill.
Thank you, Ms. Craver. I'll ask the board to take this in two parts. First, for the reappointments for the different terms expiring June 30th. So that's the CMRPC delegate to the Lakes and Ponds Committee.
Okay. Through the chair,
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we reappoint through June 30th, 2017, the CMRPC and the Lakes and Ponds, through the Lakes and Ponds Committee.
There's also the Conservation Commission for the term expiring 2019.
Yes.
Second.
All right, motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. And then we'll tackle the reappoint the special municipal employees.
Through the chair,
Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we reappoint the special municipal employees and with an expiration date of June 30th, 2017. They would be the Call Assistant Fire Chief, the Board of Assessors, and the Plumbing Inspector.
Thank you.
Second.
We have motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and motion passes. Thank you. And with that, we'll move on to new business. Item number 1, a site plan application from Sun Connect. Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. The planning board has provided you with a site plan application submitted by Burton Engineering on behalf of Sun Connect to revise the array layout for a previously approved 1.3 megawatt commercial ground-mounted solar array and associated utility connection on approximately 3.9 acres of an 87.4 acre site located at 44 Old Worcester Road, owned by Charlton Orchards Group LLC. Said property is zoned agriculture. You are asked to review the site plan application and provide comments, if any, to the board, the planning board no later than Wednesday, August 3rd.
Thank you, Ms. Craver. What are the wishes of the board? Does anyone have any comments? I would make the same comments that Mr. Singer usually makes about ensuring that it's looks nice and does all take all the precautions. And no other actions needed on this. So then we'll move on to item number 2 under new business, fire chief for grants. Ms. Craver?
Actually, we have, next is reverse
Oh,
911.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Is that still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
So now I'm,
At the board's June 7th, 2016 meeting, Chief Purvier had asked the board to consider the reinstatement of the reverse 911 system and to make it permanent due to an incident that put residents in danger recently. I had recommended the board consider the request and to ask the Finance Committee to make it a permanent part of the budget. The board authorized myself and Chief Purvier to work together to bring in competing bids to bring them back on board. 3 quotes were received: Emergency Communications Network, which is also called Code Red, and their cost is $6,309 each year for 3 years. Everbridge, which was our most recent company, was at $9,612 the first year, $8,900 for the subsequent years. And thirdly, Blackboard Connect Incorporated at $6,300, one-year term, not contractual price. It is our recommendation that the board vote to award the bid to Emergency Communications Network, otherwise known as Code Red, in the amount of $6,309 for each of the 3 years, and to ask the Finance Committee to make a permanent part of the budget.
Through the chair.
Thank you, Ms. Graver. Mr. McGrath?
I make a motion that we accept the bid from Emergency Communications Network, also known as Code Red, in the amount of $6,309 for each of the 3 years, and to ask the Finance Committee to make it a permanent part of the budget.
Second.
Thank you. Your motion is second. Discussion. I know that some of our neighbors use Code Red. Oxford uses Code Red?
Oxford, Dudley, and Sturbridge.
Oxford, Dudley, and Sturbridge. Chief, do you have any experience working with Code Red at all, or Blackboard Connect? I know we used Everbridge before.
As the chief's coming up, one thing I do want to say is, as directed by you, we are working with Oxford, Sturbridge, and Southbridge on regional dispatch, and I think this would be an added plus with us being, having the same
Absolutely.
reverse
Chief?
911.
So, my experience with Code Red personally, I mean, I've met several times with the representatives from there and the chiefs in the contiguous communities, and they like the service. The thing is that as we move forward towards trying to regionalize, having a system that is in place in the contiguous communities, hopefully once we can foster an emergency call center for the multiple communities, it's one less service that we would have to try and change. So if we're all, and if the system was not up to par, I would tell you so, and I would
Right.
say, well, I don't care what they're using, but the Code Red, if you go onto their website and see all the areas that, the communities that have it, in my calling around, like them, and so I respectfully request that, that you approve, going with them, and that we move forward, once the contract's in place, so we can start getting this system in place. And you'll be able to do, for that system, you'll be able to do announcements. You'll be able to use it to notify other members of the town for other things going on. And it comes with a lot of amenities.
So a lot of the functions that
A lot of
Everbridge had, but 2/3 of the cost.
So, yes, so it's a good system. It's got a solid backbone. Some things that are, some of these other 911 services have been moving into other areas. And Code Red has been staying on the money for emergency notifications. So.
Thank you. Mr. McGrath, did you have something?
No.
Mr. Chair,
Mrs. Cooper?
where is the money for this coming from?
That's a good question. Ms. Graver?
We'll have a conversation with the Finance Committee. If they approve it and support it for going in, I'll ask them for a reserve fund transfer. We'll make that, and then we can backfill that out of the free cash, and
And
then
Cobra?
try and make it into a permanent. But we do need to make sure that we have a consistent annual revenue to be able to afford this.
And we'd be entering a 3-year contract with them, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And it's always contingent upon funding.
Right. Ms. Cooper?
Mr. Chair. So should this year be contingent on Finance Committee approval?
That would make sense.
Yeah, I think it's implied. You can't really enter it without funding.
Well, you could do that at this point. The other option would be to hold it. If Finance Committee is not comfortable with it, you could wait until the town meeting and then fund it then. If
Uh,
they'll hold their, if Code Red would be willing to hold their bid until October.
Chief, would you want to, would you feel comfortable holding off on this, or is this something that you would advise maybe pursuing earlier?
Well, respectfully, I would like to, whether I need to attend a Finance Committee meeting or whatever, and see if we can allocate the monies, and for $6,300, To me, it's a small amount of money for the potential safety net that it provides, you know, if I need to put out an emergency notification for the public here. And I would find it really hard that once we got to a fall town meeting that we couldn't backfill that money back into the reserve account if that was what was needed to do.
Right.
You know, using it up front, at least we could get going.
So, Ms. Cooper, would you want to, for us to amend the motion to, say pending Finance Committee approval?
Yes, please.
I'll amend my motion to state that.
Second.
Motion,
Yeah.
we have an amended motion and second to approve the Code Red bid for 3 years with pending Finance Committee approval.
Yeah, and I think we all understand that. You
Yeah.
know, you have to be able to pay for it.
Right.
And if the Finance Committee feels otherwise, then it'll go to fall meeting, you know, so.
Right.
But hopefully we can do it sooner, but I understand.
So thank you, and I'm sure.
And that's being open and transparent and keeping the finance committee in the loop on
Right.
these decisions, which I think is helpful. Great.
Any more discussion? No? I'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, everyone else. And I'm sure you'll be working with the Finance Committee on this.
So,
Robin, just let me know if I need to go to a Finance Committee meeting on it, okay?
Right.
thank you.
Thank you, Chief. So then we have a second item under old business.
I thought it was after this one. had made my notes on the wrong
The way you looked at me was like, what do you mean fire chief grant?
I thought you were reading chief and as the fire chief, and I'm like, no, the 911 is the police chief. So
then we'll move to
now that we're not confused anymore,
our
it would be
hidden item under old business.
it's Fire Chief Grant, who got a call in the back and signaled goodbye as he ran out the door. So I would recommend holding this in case he's able to come back. I know that we have an executive session regarding the fire department, so I'm guessing if he gets freed up, he'll be able to come in maybe before we end our meeting.
Well, it seems like we're
Otherwise,
we're
we
getting
can
close to the end,
hold
but
it till the next,
yeah,
till the
it was
next meeting.
just a presentation on a grant that they've been working on.
yes.
But there, excuse me, Mr. Chair,
Ms. Cooper?
is there a time limit on this grant that we might need to discuss sooner?
My understanding is that he's put the grant in, and I apologize, I really don't want to speak for him on this grant, that he's put the grant in for 9 officers. He's had a conversation with them, because my recommendation was, I didn't know about the 9. This didn't come before the board or myself. He had submitted the grant. I had suggested if that's a possibility, then can we go back and change it to 4, and maybe the 4 that you've already approved, we'll actually get some funding for a couple of years, and then we know that we're gonna keep them. He wanted to have a discussion with you on whether it was 9 or whether it was 4. My understanding is that he's getting positive feedback as far as the grant moving forward. He's unclear as to whether it would go back to the beginning if he changed the number. So I hope that's him. Nope.
No. But
So,
we're still happy to see him.
I think that I would prefer he make the case. If you have any strong feelings either way, that's great. And I don't think it's time sensitive yet. I think what's happening is the grant is being held up, certainly. But if it is, then I can contact you, and perhaps if he doesn't come back in time, perhaps we can have a quick meeting next Tuesday.
Thank you, Ms. Craver. And yeah, so please make sure it's on our agenda for next
Okay.
meeting. So with that, are there any more hidden items I should know about? Is there anything more about Pokemon Go we need to discuss?
No, but I did want to say, I love that game gets people out and walking around.
I was talking to some people in the town hall, and they were saying how they were seeing just so many people walking the commons.
Nice.
So,
Okay,
all
so.
right, so with that, we'll move on to committee reports. Does anyone have any committee reports? I know, Ms. McGrath, we had our municipal building committee meeting.
Yeah.
It's progressing.
Yeah, it's same as anything.
Yeah.
It's progressing.
All right, seeing none, anyone have any policy reviews? No. Town administrator's report, Ms. Craver?
Yes, sir. Local aid, we've been informed by Senator Goby that the FY17 Budget Conference Committee released their report on local aid, and Charlton will receive an additional $57,429 in local aid.
Good news.
That is good. Fire Station Building Committee, as directed by the board at your goals and objectives meeting, we have sent emails to the past members of the Fire Station Building Committee to see if they're interested in being on the committee again, and we will post on cable as well, and we will bring back those names and responses at your next meeting.
Also good news. Uh-oh.
Just a couple other
It's the
things that
bad
I do
news.
want to just let you know. There was something in the newspaper about Webster Dudley making comments about the Oxford, Sturbridge, Southbridge, Charlton regional dispatch. The team had taken a look at that, and we are sending a letter back hoping that they will participate in our grant and trying to move that forward. So I do want to let you know that we did respond to that, and that letter should be going out. All 4 managers have signed it.
Thank you.
And I also attended this morning, the Water Sewer Commission has put out a request for proposals for a new sewer operator. I attended those interviews this morning, so we're moving forward to getting a new, well, either re-upping or getting a new operator there, so just to let you know.
Awesome, thank you. Any questions for the town administrator? Nope, seeing none. That is reaching the end of our agenda. Our next regular selectmen's meeting will be August 2nd, and we'll be going to executive session. We'll be exiting executive session solely for purpose of adjournment. So, Ms. Cooper or Mr. McGrath, what are your wishes?
Through the chair.
Mr. McGrath.
I make motion that we adjourn to the executive session on the Mass, excuse me, on the Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Number 1, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual, or discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. And number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body. If the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. And the chair does declare that an opening may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. And once again, I'll repeat, we'll be exiting executive session solely for the purpose of adjournment. I would also say that I kind of miss reading that motion, but I also don't. So thank you, Mr. McGrath. Any more discussion? Seeing none, move to a roll call vote. Mr. McGrath.
Aye.
Ms. Cooper.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We're now in executive session, and we'll be exiting executive session for solely purpose of adjournment. And with that, once again, our next regular selection meeting will be August 2nd, 2016. With that, good luck catching all the Pokemon, and good night.
Bye, Ms. Deb. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you guys.
Will we see you
It's been a long
tomorrow at
time.
the Blueberry, I mean, this weekend?
This is the blooper part of our.
Oh.
Yes.
Why, I spoke too soon before it was. We really do talk after the meeting and say hello to people.